I wish I had an entire hour to talk with our next guest. Lori Cheek has been on Great Day Live multiple times before, the last in 2019. She is the creator of Cheeked, and she was a contestant on Shark Tank. She has an incredible story that, sometimes I wonder how much somebody can pack into such a short span. Lori is back with us. And here, Lori, let's just set the little parameters here for just a second. Explain what is cheek, just to refresh everyone's memories, and then the legal issues that you've been battling before we get into a whole new lifestyle change for you.
I'm glad I can even sort of chuckle about this, but Cheat is a Bluetooth dating app that allows singles to meet in person. So it's a real time, right now, right here dating app. So if you're in a crowded room within a 30-foot radius, you can find out who else is single and on the app, and you can start a conversation face to face, or you could just shoot that person a message then or later. And yeah, on the Shark Tank, one of my reruns, a man on Long Island, I guess, watched my episode and for 3.5 years now has been claiming I stole his idea and now I'm rich and famous. And this lawsuit is still going on.
It's absurd what you've been through. The lawsuit is going on, but then enter COVID. And you're from Kentucky. Your family is in Taylorsville, but you're a city slicker. You've been in New York City, and then of course we saw. Our hearts broke for what New York City went through. But now, Lori, you're back home. You're back in the bluegrass.
Yeah, when I graduated University of Kentucky Architecture School in 1996, I couldn't wait to get out of here. I threw up my hat that day when I graduated. Went home, packed up a Penske truck, and drove straight to New York City. Wasn't looking back. I was there for 25 years, and now I live in Louisville, Kentucky.
So how did that happen? And when did that happen?
Well, I've been going through tons of financial struggles fighting these lawsuits for the past 3.5 years. So I really couldn't pay my rent alone. So I started renting out a room in my apartment on Airbnb on the Lower East Side to help fund my rent. And then in March, the virus hit. And I had been tracking this thing since early February, like it was my job. So I was all sorts of freaked out about what was getting ready to hit New York. And I knew we'd be the city because we're the most compact. And I don't know. I kept reading these articles day after day. And on March 6th, I packed up a rental car and drove straight to my cousin's house here in Louisville and stayed with her for a month with no intention of really moving here. But that was me taking off of New York. And those Airbnb guests were not coming back for a very long time because we got shut down.
So you left before things really, really hit New York City, and hit New York City hard. And so then you come back hoping maybe things will calm down. And of course, here we are still in flux in a variety of ways. But I mean, are you living here in Louisville now? Would you consider
Yeah.
yourself a Louisvillian?
And in fact, when I left that morning, I remember all my friends and family were like, "Are you sure you're not overreacting by leaving?" And I just knew deep down what was getting ready to happen. And I remember walking out of my apartment that morning thinking, wow, I may never see any of this stuff ever again. And I actually thought things were going to be worse than they are in New York right now. Like I thought there'd be looters that had broken into my apartment. But after being in Kentucky for a few months, paying my $3,300 a month rent without Airbnb guests helping me, I realized I had to get my stuff out of that apartment. So I hired some movers and they went to my storage facility in Brooklyn, packed up everything, packed up my entire apartment. And I still thought I may never see that stuff after they packed it all up. And one day they showed up at my parents' basement in Taylorsville. And then I thought I can't live with them for the rest of my life. So I decided to come to the big city in Kentucky. So here I am in Louisville, signed a year lease, and we'll see what happens.
So here for at least a year, and who knows what 2021 is going to look like. But Lori, the fact that you went from, you were on a national stage with Cheeked, and of course, Shark Tank, and you had a goal and a dream, and like you said, you have a degree, but you went this way with your idea, and you've been fighting this battle. And then all of a sudden, CNN came knocking on your door because they just interviewed you asking, I mean, about the big move.
Yeah, and I mean, they were asking me if I thought I'd go back, and I did mention that I have a private club membership that's on hold there for a year, and I do have a PO box, and I will eventually have to get my mail. So those are my only two ties to New York City right now, and I guess ultimately those could probably both be canceled virtually, but I do think I'm going to have to make it back at some point. And I really don't feel like I made a proper bon voyage to my home state of 25 years there. And I'd like to somehow make some closure if I do finally decide to live here forever.
Okay, well, coming up, Lori, if you'll stick around with us here, I'd like to continue the conversation, find out what happens next for you.